I'm very excited. The last time I met many of you, I was about 4 days into the job in Vancouver. I have more opinions now. I'm happy to share them with you. You may want to hear some of them, you may not want to hear some of them, but we are here to talk about some of the great accomplishments that we have made in the OpenSSF since Vancouver. So this will be a highlight reel, a best of the best, and it makes me really proud to see how much we've done in such a short time. So I'm going to do my best to be incredibly efficient because there's much smarter people than me that are going to speak after this, and I want to ensure that we have enough time for all of them. So, moving along. All right, this is my section. Firstly, I want to welcome our new members, our new general members, Mend.io, RTX, formerly known as Raytheon, Shopify, Slim AI, Stacklock. Stacklock folks, I see you out in the crowd. All right, there they are. As well as our new associate member, the Rust Foundation. So a big round of applause. Thank you. As you will hear me ramble about later, security of open source is not any one constituent's accountability. We need support from private sector, public sector, and the community. So as we grow our membership, I look forward to working with all of you. Quick reminder of our governance structure. We have the board made up of our premier members, our general member representatives, our community members, our associate member representatives. Into that report a number of communities, as well as the TAC. From there we have a number of work groups, as well as associated projects. We currently have some work underway under the auspices of our operating model to streamline some of this and improve some of this for better execution in the future. If you're interested, let us know. So, we are going in reverse chronological order. So last week was a very big week for us where we were in Washington, D.C., and we met with a number of folks from the U.S. federal government as well as our members of the community, and we had a chat. And we had a chat about what it's going to take to improve open source software security. Very interesting discussion. During day one, there were a number of people that are of very senior rank, both in private sector as well as public sector. Day two is when we rolled up our sleeves and got busy doing some real work. So out of that, you will see a number of, we called them task forces, but new work initiatives that we are going to bring back into our work groups. There were two areas that were of particular focus that I'm sure will surprise nobody in the room. One, securing repos. Different ways to secure our open source repos to ensure that we have the right security invariants present was a very big topic. And the second one was education. For those that know me, you'll know that education's a deep passion of mine, including the work that I do at NYU outside of this, and my wife and I have set up a scholarship there. If we talk about the security mantra of shifting left, the furthest left you can shift is to have an educated developer that hopefully avoids making a lot of the issues or errors that we've made in the past. So those are the two major areas that I saw coming out of it. But of course, for others that were there, more than happy to have a discussion on break and chat about how we can continue to forward this. The one thing that I will pause here to say, both to my friends in the room as well as my friends on the internet, we need participation. It is great to sit down and have deep, heady thoughts and thoughtfully stroke chins about deep security issues, but the way that we get these fixed is by the community participating and contributing to ensure that we have a more secure open source software. In addition to that, CISA, which is one of the US federal agencies charged with improving security within critical infrastructure, launched their open source software security roadmap last week, and I don't see Ava here. Might be a bit early in the morning for Ava, but Ava, one of the friends of the community that's been with OpenSSF for a very long time, recently went over to CISA, and Ava will be leading this initiative, so we're very excited about how we can contribute to this. For those that haven't read through it, I'll give you the Coles Notes or the Cliff Notes version, depending on which country you came from. it's really focused on ensuring that the US federal government not only preaches about what should be done in terms of open security, but their active participation, whether it be committing back upstream, whether it be getting more involved with an inventory of the open source software within critical infrastructure, and also getting more engaged with the community. So we thought this was a great initiative, and we look forward to supporting them. The next one, the AIXCC, the Artificial Intelligence Cyber Challenge. This is cool. This is incredibly cool stuff. So we announced this back at Black Hat and DEF CON jointly with DARPA, brought to you by the people that invented the internet. This basically is what I think is going to be the next game changer in terms of how we approach open source security at scale. So those that have developed enterprise software, I'm sure you'll all empathize with the fact that rarely within a open source project do we have a well-constructed top-down secure SDLC. It's the nature of how we write code in open source software. The AIXCC challenge seeks to find participants that want to use artificial intelligence like large language models in order to broadly secure entire swaths of open source software and hopefully address some issues that we have in making it secure by construction. Now, this can take many forms. It could be LLMs sweeping over particular languages and suggesting better code. It could be pop-up tooltips in your editor of choice. I don't know how they'll do that in Vim, but I'm sure they'll figure it out. But I think this is going to be a game changer, and I really look forward to the participation. OpenSSF, due to the fact that this is focused on open source software, and the intent once the challenge completes is to contribute the winner's solution back to the community. The OpenSSF is a challenge advisor, so we will provide regular updates as to the progress, obviously in a way that won't negatively affect the competition, but also ensures that as we go through the competition, that the challenges that are produced in a way that is congruent with what the community needs. We would hate for somebody to come in with a solution that doesn't really marry with how we as the community develop software. So we're there to help. On the theme of how we can help, the US federal government released a RFI on open source security and memory safety. The OpenSSF amongst our membership is currently crafting a response to this RFI. We'd encourage you as members to get involved if this is something that's interesting to you. My assumption coming out of this RFI response is that the government will then use that information to determine how best they can serve the community. So one, it pleases me that the US federal government is speaking with one voice and it's not different federal agencies all asking the same question, so that's very encouraging. And combined with the CISA open source roadmap, I think gives us the confidence that this information will be taken to better support open source projects going forward. The RFI closes on October 9th. CROBE, we're wrapping up responses by what, last week of September-ish? Yeah, we hope to wrap up the responses by last week of September. If you want to get involved, I called out CROBE. He's the guy you talk to. You'll notice him wearing waterfowl attire of some type. And he'll be speaking later, I'm sure. All right, OpenSSF scorecard releases version 4.12, supporting not only GitHub, but also GitLab. So really, really happy with this release. Look forward to it providing developers an unbiased view as to where they can improve in terms of their projects. And I think while any method of assessing the security of a project involves some bits of subjectivity, I think scorecard balances the scoring of the project with your ability to customize that scoring and weighting for your own good. So really proud of this. I got the 5 minutes, so I'm going to flip through this real quick. RStuff, am I pronouncing it right? Somebody tell me. I heard whispers in the crowd. Okay, but another big launch. The repository service for Tough aims to ensure that we enhanced secure content distribution, so I believe it's in the incubation phase right now. Another area we're very excited about, as mentioned earlier from our work in Washington last week, starting with securing repositories and figuring out the right way of allowing those security invariants to bubble their way downstream is an excellent, excellent opportunity for us to secure the supply chain. Source Code Management Best Practices Guide, another bit of great work. As I keep telling people, it's not that developers want to do insecure things. We want to be efficient, and we want to do what we think is right. For those developers that may not be as familiar with how to secure things, I think the Source Code Management Best Practices Guide gives a number of points of direction in terms of how they should think about it. Also, Prosimo, I believe it was an Alpha grant, so shout out to the Alpha Omega project. They're going to be working on Rust TLS as well as further contributions of Rust in the kernel. The memory safety properties of Rust, I'm sure, is something that Becca's going to get into in deep depth. No, she won't be doing that. But if you do have thoughts about memory safety, Rebecca is more than happy for me to answer those questions as she drinks coffee. But really looking forward to this. I think for some critical paths in the kernel, this is phenomenal, as well as for those of you that were involved in security back during Heartbleed, having something like Rust TLS can be quite interesting. Also, OpenSSF Day Japan. Where's Nori? There's Nori. So we're going to be in Japan early December. The call for papers is open. We would love to see you there. Open source security is something that's a global consideration, and we're happy to be supporting Nori for the OpenSSF Day Japan, as well as the OSSS week that continues thereafter. Going to be my first time in Japan. I think it's going to be really cool. And with that, I believe that's the end of my slides. I think they're in the right order. Oh, that's interesting. I'm going to step away from this now.